Well, hello and welcome back to Math with Mrs. Hauk. You're noticing that I have lesson 12 up for us in our math book. It should be S40, looks like 46. We're going to talk about ratio tables, and I am not going to do a double number line, so you can cross that out. We're actually going to do something called a proportion today. So let's look at what our exercise says. The amount of sugary beverages Americans consume is a leading health concern. For a given brand of cola, a 12-ounce serving of cola contains about 40 grams of sugar. So we have here 12 ounces of cola and 40 grams of sugar. Okay, that all matches. Complete the ratio table using the given ratio to find equivalent ratios. All right, let's see if that's a little bit clearer for you. There we go. All right, so let's take 12 and cut it in half. That's 6. And 40 cut in half is 20. So it looks like we're going to count by 6s on the top, but I don't want you to go yet. I want you to just wait. Don't fill that one in yet. And the reason why is because I kind of have looked ahead at the next problem. It says here a 1-liter bottle of cola contains approximately 34 fluid ounces. How many grams of sugar would be in a 1-liter bottle of cola? So we want to find out, once we get to 34, how many grams it is. Well, let's go continue our pattern. 6, 12. Let's cut this in half here. We're going to need some extra boxes, I think, so we can get to 34. Make a large rectangle. All right, there we go. 6, 12, counting by 6s would be 18, 24, 30, and 36. Oh, no 34. To the bottom, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and 120. So 34 is going to fall somewhere in between here, correct? So we need to find out between 100 and 120, what would the sugar grams be for 34 ounces. So there is one way that I'm going to teach you, and it's called a proportion. You're going to probably need your calculators today for that. So if your teacher wants you to use your calculators, you can. Or if they want you to use the calculator on your Chromebook, you sure can. So in order to make a proportion, we're going to make basically 2 ratios. 1 ratio here and 1 ratio here. We want them to be equivalent ratios. So I know I want to find out 34 ounces. That's what I want to solve. So I'm going to put that right here. I want to find out 34, and we're going to go ahead and label that ounces. Now, obviously, whatever's on the top over here for ounces has to be the same on the top over here. We're wanting to find out grams of sugar, so we'll put down here sugar grams, and the same label has to go over here. This is the answer we're trying to find. So that's the one we're going to leave blank. So what we need to do is we need to find an equivalent ratio. So we get to pick any one of these ratios. It could be 30 to 100, 36 to 120, 8, any of them. I prefer to use the smaller one because the smaller one makes it easier for solving. I don't have numbers that are quite so large. So let's go over here and let's write here 6 to 20. Now we have to figure out what this answer is. Well, we've been busy trying to go across like this. But if you notice, 6 cannot go into 34. There's nothing that I can multiply 6 by to get that answer. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to solve my proportion in a different manner. And what I would like for you to do is right over here, I want you to write these words. Cross multiply and divide. Cross multiply means we're going to go cross like this. Okay, we're going to go cross like this. Then we're going to have to divide. Well, if you notice here in my proportion, if I want to go cross and multiply, I can't cross multiply here. There's nothing there. So the only two numbers that I have across from each other are these two. So we're going to circle them. We're going to circle them like this. First step we have to do is cross multiply. So we're going to cross multiply, which means we're going to multiply those two. So this is where you need your calculators. And we have 20 and 34, so we're going to multiply 20 times 34. I get an answer of 680. Well, we're not quite finished, because if you remember, the second step is to divide. Well, what number is left? The number that's left in my proportion is the number 6. So this is the number I'm going to divide by. So let's go to my answer. I have 680. I'm going to divide it by 6. And I get a decimal answer of 113. And if you can see, it's a repeating decimal. So I'm going to come over here to my paper in my book, and I'm going to write here 113. And let's see if I would change this to a fraction. Let's just see if I can change it to a fraction, if that would be a simpler answer. Oh, that's much simpler than our decimal. So let's go ahead and keep it as a fraction. And we're going to write 113 and 1/3 sugar grams. That would be pretty difficult to try and solve this answer using our table. However, we did have to use one of our equivalent ratios. We used the number in the problem we were trying to solve. We cross-multiplied, and then we divided by the number left. Let's go down to exercise 4. Exercise 4 says, a school cafeteria has a restriction on the amount of sugary drinks available to students. Drinks may not have more than 25 grams of sugar. Based on this restriction, what is the largest size cola in ounces the cafeteria can offer to students? Well, if we look up at our table up here, 25 grams of sugar. Oh, it's going to fall somewhere in here. So that's going to be about right here somewhere. We know it's going to be falling here. So we're going to have to go down here and set up a proportion again. So let's come down to our book, make our proportion. Let's add our labels. We're going to put ounces on top. And this time, let's just put on the bottom grams. Very important when setting up a proportion that your labels are the same on the top as they are on the bottom. Okay, now we're wanting to find out how many drinks for 25 grams. So since this is 25 grams, it's going to have to go with one of the grams. I always like, when I'm trying to solve the problem, to put that in my second proportion or my second ratio. So I'm going to put that here. I'm looking for 25 grams. I'm wanting to know how many ounces of cola. So that's the answer I'm looking for. That's when I don't know. We're going to go up to the top of our table, and once again, we're going to pick a ratio. Okay, any ratio we want from up here. And we could pick any of them. I always like I said, I always like to use the smallest one because it's easier then, and the numbers aren't quite so large. So it's 6 to 20. So let's go ahead and write down here 6 to 20. Can't multiply this direction, can we, like we used to? 20 doesn't go into 25 evenly. So we're going to have to do our two things. Remember, the first thing is we cross multiply. So we can't cross multiply here, can we? So we're going to have to cross multiply here. We're going to cross multiply. So we'll take out our calculators. And we're going to take 6 times 25. 6 times 25 is 150. Now sometimes I might write my number down here real small just in case I forget it or lose it off my calculator. So step number 1 is cross multiply, and step number 2 is divide. Well, what number is left in my proportion? The number 20. So we're going to divide by 20. We're going to take 150 and divide it by 20. There's my 150. I'm going to divide it by 20. And my answer is 7.5 or 7 5/10, which is also known as 7.5. So we found out that it says drinks may not have more than 25 grams of sugar. So if they can only have 25 grams of sugar, what's the largest size cola? They can have a 7.5 ounce can or glass of cola in order to meet the restrictions for the cafeteria. All right, let's turn over to the back side. All right, it says here, Chantel solves 3 math problems in 4 minutes. Oh, there's my ratio. It's hidden in there. Use this information to complete the table below. Okay, here's the number of questions. Here's the number of minutes. All right, 3 math problems. Those are questions in 4 minutes. So this will be a 4. So it looks like on the top we counted by 3s, which means on the bottom we're going to count by 4s. So go ahead and pause your video, and if you would, please count by 4s. Okay, well, let's see. I got all the way here to 40. And let's see what our problem says we need to do. Chantel has soccer practice on Thursday evening. She has a half hour before practice to work on her math homework and to talk to her friends. She has 20 math skill work questions. Ooh, I probably better underline that. She has 20 questions for homework, and she wants to complete them before talking with her friends. How many minutes will Chantel have left after completing her math homework to talk to her friends? All right, so she's got here 20 questions. Oh, 20 is going to fall somewhere right here. All right. So if she has 21 questions, it's 28 minutes. 18 questions is 24 minutes, but I want to know exactly how many minutes it's going to take her to do 20 questions, because then I can find out how many minutes she has left to talk to her friend. So I like to make a proportion again. Okay. What are our 2 labels? Looks like we have questions and minutes. So let's go ahead and just put here question like that. And then we have minutes on the bottom. Question on top. And minute on the bottom. What we're trying to solve is 20 questions. So our 20 is going to go here with the questions. This is what we're trying to solve. Now remember, in order to solve a proportion, we can pick any equivalent ratio from up here that we'd like. So pick any one you want. They will all work and get the same answer. But I'm always like to use the smallest when I can. So I'm going to say for 3 questions, 4 minutes. Okay, let's see if you've been paying attention. What's the first thing we have to do? What's the first thing we have to do when solving a proportion? If you said cross multiply, you are correct. Well, you can't cross multiply here. There's no number. So we're going to have to cross multiply here. 20 times 4. Most of us could probably do that without our calculator. 20 times 4 is 80. What is our second step that we have to do? Our second step is to divide. So I have to take my 80 and I have to divide it by 3. Okay, so let's get our calculator here. We had 80. We're going to divide it by 3. Ooh, it's a repeating decimal, so let's change it from a decimal to a fraction. So our answer is 26 2/3. Let's go ahead and write down here 26 2/3. Okay, but let's see, is this what we needed to find out? Let's go back up here and reread the question. It says Chantel has soccer practice on Thursday evening. She has a half hour. Okay, how long is a half hour? A half hour is 30 minutes. So she has 30 minutes before practice to work on her math homework and to talk to her friends. She has 20 math skill work questions for homework, and she wants to complete them before talking with her friends. How many minutes will Chantel have left after completing her math homework? It doesn't look like she's going to have a lot of time left. It's going to take her 26 2/3 minutes, and she has 30 minutes. So we're going to have to take 30 minus 26 2/3. So let's go ahead and just write this here. 30 minus 26 2/3. That's how many minutes she's going to have left. Well, the nice thing is if you have the school calculators, you can actually put in your calculator a 30 minus, and our unit number is 26. Oops, let's go back here. See if I can get this fixed here. 26. Oh, let's just clear this. Come on here, Mrs. Howe. So with our calculator, we would press 30 minus, remember we're minusing 26 2/3 again. Let's see if I can do this here. So we have 26. We want 26 to be our unit number. We want 2, I'll press the number 2, and I want it to be my numerator. And I want 3 to be my denominator. And then I can press equal, and my calculator will tell me 3 1/3. 3 1/3 minutes is all she has to talk on the phone. That's not very many. Most of you probably would beg for more. If you would want to solve it correctly this way, for my top mathematical students, if you notice I can't subtract here because there's nothing here, so I have to borrow from the 30. 29. I took one whole number away. Well, the whole number I took away I need to put here, but I want it as a fraction. And so I'm going to put it like this, 3/3, because 3/3 is actually one whole number. But I want a common denominator. So 3/3 minus 2/3 is 1/3, and 29 minus 26 is 3. So I get the same answer. We're going to practice more of this later, so don't be panicked. All I wanted you to do was kind of solve this with us with our calculator. So hopefully today in class, your teachers might work on solving some proportions. Remember, cross multiply and divide.